think you simply touched upon the nerve, right? In terms of a lot of us feeling that sense of isolation, that everything is on us to do, and in a world where all variables are out of our control beyond a very minuscule, just a minuscule part of it is within our control. So no wonder we continuously feel overburdened. And just a couple of days ago, I was having this conversation with a client where she was like, you know what, I'm tired of trying so hard. And it came from the depths of her being, where she felt that exhaustion of just winning a battle, losing a battle over and over again. And
first, I want to touch upon what you said about exhaustion. It's not just an isolated incident. It is a proven study. In fact, in the Guardian magazine, the month of May, I had also posted about this on Instagram. There was a survey from UK which stated something that really broke my heart. The survey says people are too exhausted. This is the conclusion of that research. People are too exhausted to make positive lifestyle changes. This really broke my heart. And then I set off on a Europe trip. I was on traveling across Europe for the last 1 month teaching. And I actually experienced this with the people who came for my workshops and retreats. Tremendous exhaustion, tremendous. So what you shared is absolutely right, absolutely right. We are just masters of distraction. We have become masters of distraction. So we don't really, again, using the word, allow ourselves to sit and recognize that, oh, I'm exhausted. No, we just do, because our ego doesn't like it. Our ego doesn't like that, I'm a strong person, how can I be exhausted? No. So then we just do something else. We distract. Oh, I'm so exhausted, I'm going to have a cup of coffee, strong coffee, double espresso. Or I'm going to watch an action movie. Yeah, absolutely. Now, coming back to your question is, why are we exhausted? Because we have become too mind-centric and not heart-centric. There are two forces, thinking and feeling. We have become very thinking-oriented. Buddhi and bhava. Where is the bhava nowadays? Right? We are too busy analyzing things. We are too busy not just thinking, overthinking. Divine gave us the ability to think, and we started overthinking. It's like that. God gives us one thing and we overdo it. So there are many reasons for this. Many reasons. Personal, social conditioning, family conditioning, generational conditioning. In a sense, what I want to say is, life is all about harmonizing your thinking and feeling variables, or the dimensions of thinking and feeling. But the kind of life we live makes it imperative that we stay in the thinking mode, because our life is full of choice, our challenges, decision making. We have to stay on alert. We have deadlines. We have projects. Company's name is at stake. Our job is at stake. So you see, the time your alarm goes, your fight and flight mechanism is switched on. The alarm also is such a horrible tone that nobody will wake up peacefully. You wake up with an overwhelm, right? And that alarm tips your nervous system into fight and flight, and then it doesn't come down because you rush out of bed, you rush into shower, breakfast on the run to catch a train, juggle works and projects at office, jostle around with your colleagues, fight for the next presentation, push somebody for getting up the ladder in the corporate ladder, then rush or fight time to leave office early, dodge calls that you don't want to take. Imagine, we have to be in the thinking mode to stay sane. In the neurobiological terms, we have to be in the sympathetic nervous system response to survive. And once the habit pattern is developed, or in the brain, the wiring is developed, it's not easy to come out of it. And then what will happen? Imagine if you're firing your fight and flight since 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Your brain is not going to, oh, now he's come home, now let me just wind down. No. Why? Why should it? If you've told your brain for 12 hours a day that you are under threat, run. Your brain will say, oh, I have to run at home also. This is the issue. So, I have personally started telling everybody and teaching that it is time for conscious rest. We need to give rest a priority. That is also a struggle.
So powerful. I think I was just reading somewhere that all that we do in our day-to-day life is this restless activity, right? And there is no action. So that means when you really pause also, even if you were to rest, the mind is still continuously, running that same race it was running those 12 hours. It's not going to suddenly come to a stop. So whether you're at work or not, you're thinking about work or you're doing something else in your head. And there is no rest that we give in. So there's no turning off of that flight and fight mode. It's always on. And then no wonder the exhaustion happens because the body can't run on adrenaline
Absolutely.
for that long.
Yeah. And people's ideas of rest have also become neurologically stimulating. Like, let's have a movie marathon. That's not rest. That's recreation. You see? Oh, I come back from office, 12 hours of work, and then just for rest, I go for a 7K run. It's not rest. Yeah, run is good for you. It has its own benefits. But your nervous system, if we look at nervous system as the fundamental ground to analyze everything on, your nervous system is not rested when you're running 7K. Especially if you have a time. I want to run 7K within half an hour or whatever, something like that. Your brain is pushing through the time barrier. Your legs are pushing through the lazy barrier or fatigue barrier. We need to learn how to consciously rest.
So for those probably tuning in and haven't really rested consciously, where would you recommend they start?
Taking time out every day, consciously, to do something that, now I have to be very specific, because if I say to do something relaxing, then they will start running. Not like that. That's why I'm trying to formulate a proper sentence. Every day, take time to do something that relaxes your mind, relaxes your breath, makes you psychologically relax, become effortless, become calm. Those kind of variables you need to work.
Right.
Because people are smart, they just find a loophole and
Absolutely. And the
because
mind,
if
I
I
think, is
say
creative.
take time out for rest, they say, oh, but I get a lot of rest if I buy something online. No. Oh, I rest very well after I eat 1 kilo of kaju katli. No, people always find their bit, so but yes, taking consciously, like we take time for brushing teeth, having a shower, let it become a part of your routine.
Right.
Rest should become a sadhana.
Yeah.
And then we will notice how tightly we are bound by this productivity. What will happen? You're sitting, like let's say, now 11 to 11:15. I'm just gonna sit on my chair and stare out of the window. Chalo, let's do this. You sit down, you stare out of the window, and I guarantee after 1 minute you'll be like, oh, my window has a lot of dust. Let me clean this. And then you go in and take a mop and start cleaning the window. This is what I'm saying, productivity. You can't just say, my window is dirty. After 15 minutes, I will clean. No, like, window. Oh, I forgot. Last weekend, I should have, cleaned the window. Oh, no. You see, this is what I call productivity condition. Will not let you rest.
Wherein you'd mentioned that, you personally experienced burnout as well, in your professional career. So how was that for you? What kind of factors led to it? And how can probably listeners who are listening in today avoid that zone of burnout?
Yeah, so it's again a very personalized thing. So burnout can happen for various reasons for various people. So I think it's the main thing is for us to have awareness within ourselves as to why it is happening. And so for me, it was a journey of exploration. So in hindsight, what I know today is that I think it had happened because of my having very siloed interests actually. So I was either a mom or I was a career person. So there was literally nothing else I had. So it was just this that. So it was like there was nothing for this self, that honoring this personhood, that the person that needed something. So I was not really honoring the needs of the person. So it always duty and what is needed and what am I responsible for. So clearly that was a path to burnout, and I did work upon myself. I took help from therapists, and I myself added things of what gave my soul joy. So like learning the piano, writing, poetry, music. So some of, and spirituality, of course. So yeah, so all of these are, I mean, have been attempts to reclaim something which was lost in the process when I didn't realize what I was losing. So yeah, when I added some of these bits back, so I became more of a fuller person. So and actually adding these things made me a better professional, made me a better family person. So it was contraintuitive. So I was giving time to other things, but actually the time I was spending on my core responsibilities became much more productive. So as my presence increased, as my mental capacity increased, my happiness levels increased. So that was my way of finding, and everyone has to discover their own way to what gives them a sense of balance and joy and keeps them as a full human.
I heard you mentioning in one of the podcasts that how anxieties come from our identities, right? That all of these identities that we assume we are and totally attach ourselves with, all of that start to cause us anxiety. And in a way, it is this constant anxiety that kind of stops us from actually being that resting or consciously take a rest or take it off, right? So I'm curious, how how do we manage these anxieties that seem never ending in our heads?
When you don't know who you are, you want to be many things. When you don't know what you want to eat in a restaurant, everything the waiter tells you sounds exciting. If you don't know where you want to go for vacation, every other offer sounds amazing. The point is, when you start living a mind of external awareness, you are spread thinly across a large surface area, and you lose yourself. And this is what happens. We play so many roles that we forget who is playing the role. There's a certain kind of dissonance that happens in our awareness. Who am I in all this? It happens a lot. I have seen happens a lot with women. Juggling career, motherhood, wife, daughter-in-law, and then wondering after a few years, who am I really? Because all roles are important. I am the center of it all. But then who am I? Like, do I even exist? Patanjali calls these asmitas. And every asmita has raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha means attraction and repulsion, the force of attraction and repulsion, or likes or dislikes. For example, you as a mother may not like something for your child, but you have to allow it because you are also a wife and your husband likes that for your child. But it doesn't sit well with you. But you say, okay, my husband likes that for my child, so it's no problem, But so the tension is between what you think is right for your child as a mother, but you have to also comply with what your husband wants to do for your child. You see, raga, dvesha, like, dislike. That's the fight. Like this, for each role we have a fight. And not just each role. Now this becomes even more complex. How many prasads are there in my head? Multiple. At every identity, I have a prasad. There's a prasad as a man. There's a prasad as an Indian citizen. There's a prasad as a yoga teacher. You see, and not just that, there are prasads across time. There is an infant prasad, teenage prasad, So imagine in our mind, there are multiple asmitas of self. And every asmita, every identity breeds like dislikes and creates a mental world for itself. This is how we are distributed across identity. This is the definition of avidya for Patanjali. Not knowing who the true self is, the true observer is. We get so caught up with our roles.
Yeah.
And with each role, we have this weight. Like, I have not met even a single parent who says they have been a good parent. right? So there's a guilt of parenthood, there's a burden of parenthood. So asmitas create a world around it, and we get carried away in that world. Like this, literally like the multiverse, Every asmita has its own world, and we are living together in this multiverse. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly how it happens.
Yeah.
And we want to give everything to every world, and we are exhausted. So the idea then again, to keep it extremely simple, is to consciously take time to step back. Every day, step back, step back, step back, step back. Vairagya is not taught. This is Vairagya. We are not taught Vairagya. We only know Abhyasa. Even we only are engaged in Abhyasa. We ignore Vairagya, when Vairagya is the most important part of you. So, and that's why we have this whole concept of doing your actions without desires, without the karma, without the intention to get back something. Like it is written in the Karma Yoga of Bhagavad. Do your actions without desires. Karma, phala.
I'm just curious, were there any experiences where the Gita actually came to life for you in terms of your life experiences and your journey?
A lot, Shweta. One is, I was a very hardworking student, but I never got results that I wanted when it came to board exams. So I was very upset. And one of those times, like, I really worked hard. I was a good student all through school, but when it came to board exams, I never got the results that I saw my classmates getting. So the 10th, the 12th, I was a little upset, because 12th, I wanted to be a doctor, but my marks were not good enough. And I studied in Madras. So it was completely merit. And it was 95 plus only who could get into medicine and stuff like that. And I did. So I was very upset. And at that time, I opened the Gita and I said, this is very unfair, God. I've really worked hard. And people who didn't do very well consistently have scored higher than me. This is not right. And so at that time, in that confused state, when I opened the Gita, the verse that spoke to me was Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. And for me, then I said, okay, so what does it mean? And I go deeper into the meaning. Very clearly, we stop with the first line. And I used to get very angry when people used to say, Indians are very fatalistic. You go by this statement from the Gita which says, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan, which is do your work and don't worry, whatever is in your destiny will come to you. But that's not what is the meaning of it. The second line is Ma karma phala hetu mate sankaspari karmani, which means you do your best and then leave the rest. You don't sit there and say, okay, whatever is due to me will come to me, so I will just sit here and wait. No, it's not talking about inaction. It's talking about action, karma. I started seeing this verse that flashed to me at that point when I was so upset. And it's the meaning and the interpretations that I read led on to make me understand that what is in your hand is the controllable hard work. Mm-hmm. There are many things that are beyond you, beyond your control. And especially, I meet so many of my friends who say we are control freaks, everything we have to know. Life is not like that. Because you cannot control everything. There are so many things beyond you. Who even would have believed if you said about 5 years ago that there's going to come a phase when the whole world is going to get back in and nature is going to thrive? Nobody would have believed this, right? How many plans went haywire in the last 3-4 years ever since COVID hit? So there's a lot that is not under our control. What is under our control is how we work and how we respond.
I think as we start talking about this, right, I think one of the very beautiful lines that you wrote, I really enjoyed. It was like almost poetry in prose, where you said that sorrow is disguised as transient happiness. I think that's such a powerful, powerful statement. I'd love to hear from you, the many ways we get trapped under that transient happiness.
Yes, our job, as we are trained from the very beginning, is to seek happiness. I don't think there's anything wrong with it in the sense I won't say, why are you being happy? Why are you're actually unhappy? I wouldn't say that to someone. I wouldn't do that. The point that he's saying is that when you experience that form of happiness, whatever it is that you're doing, it's somebody you like or something you ate, then the mind craves for a repetition of that experience. Right? And when it is finally found that you can't have that experience again, then sorrow comes along and it hits you really badly. That is the actual point, right? So if you recognize this, that this is all intended to mislead you, and my friend, sooner or later you're not going to have that pizza or that person you crave for, or whatever it is. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen, or whatever it is. That's when it really hits you. So again, I don't think I would say this to anybody and say, you think you're happy, but actually you're unhappy. I wouldn't do that. But I think that's the point he's actually made there. And it's unfortunately a very, crushing thought, sad thought, but it's true, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what else to say. But I wouldn't say that a child should not experience happiness. I wouldn't say either of us should have. It's fine. But if you're able to also develop the capacity to understand that this is, don't get carried away this happiness, well, then you can probably manage quite okay. Then, we're trapped in this cycle of repeated actions. We drag those actions again and again and again. It's like the circle, right? Which I've talked about, which he's talked about, which I've tried to interpret.
Yeah, very true, very true. I'm drawing parallels with the Bhagavad Gita also in chapter 3, where we go into that, right? That there is a desire, and then desire, if it gets obstructed, we get angry, and that anger leads to, wrath, and then we get caught in that cycle, and it's hard to get out of it. And I guess creating that distance between that desire and again that sense of self, right? Because a lot of times we kind of merge that sense of accomplishment to that sense of self, that we are worthy only if we get that promotion, or we drive that BMW, or whatever it is, right, that we desire, and we get caught in that same trap. Yeah.
Well, if you look at it these days, the hot news that you and I am sure are reading is about the UPSC results, right? Everything you turn to is about, so and so on this village did this, and now we got the 78th rank. So there are all these success stories which are guiding us in that direction. That I also want to be like that person. So I want to be as happy as that person seems to be. So unfortunately we are trapped in that chakravyuh.
Okay, and so the more you are in that surrender mode, that there is, obviously when there are so many uncontrollables, you also believe there's a power above which is working. So all you can do is your best and then surrender. Yeah. And the moment you start doing all that, if you notice, all of them are connected. All these concepts are interrelated.
Yeah.
And at that time, what happens? Your senses withdraw. Yeah. They no more take over, and the anger, the disappointment, the anxiety, nothing comes. Yeah. Because now you are in that surrender mode and you're like, okay, I have done whatever. This is the best I could do with the current scenario. Let me now withdraw. And this is something, the moment you do that surrender process, what emerges from that space in your own performance is excellence. Because you're now not hankering for the fruit. The end result is not going to take you away from your performance. What if will never come. When are you anxious? In the exam, if you want to do very well, you're like, I want the first rank, I want to be the best, and you go there. There are so many moments when you just go blank. Yeah. But if your approach is, I'm going to give it my best shot, whatever is the result, I'm going to give it my best shot, that anxiety to perform is automatically reduced. And when your anxiety is reduced, you're more balanced with your different emotional states and thereby perform.